Hello, Julie.
Hello.
You're looking blue today.
You're wearing blue too, but I
Yep.
was dressed first.
Yes, you were. You win that battle. Yep. You win that battle. Question for you. Is there a difference between structured and unstructured play?
Yes.
Yep. Today's episode is the structured to being unstructured. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Prime Podcast. I am your host with my co-host, Dr. Skip Weiss, the Bowtie Chiropractor, and I have the amazing Dr. Julie Weiss with us today. How are you? It's good to see you as usual.
I'm good.
It's not like I didn't see you 10 minutes ago,
Yes.
right? So, question for you right off the bat, Dr. Julie. We've talked about this before, and we just came off of a pretty amazing weekend at Sherman Lyceum for chiropractic. It's pretty much now the citadel of chiropractic. I think it's protecting everything that we hold near and dear to our heart in vertebral subluxation and the ability of the body to heal itself. But there was a conversation that was had at Sherman when we were there about structured versus unstructured play, structured versus unstructured businesses, and how are they super successful. Now, you being a Black Diamond Club certified coach, you coach a lot of business professionals. I think we coach a lot of families and talk to a ton of families in our office. And there is a tremendous difference between structured and unstructured play, and a tremendous difference between structured and unstructured businesses. But they can coexist, correct?
I think so.
So with your system, since you're kind of the queen of systems and going into people's offices and even helping in their families, is how do you create a system around being unstructured?
I think we need to figure out what the actual goals are.
Okay.
Lots of times when we think that we need structure, it's because we're living in chaos and we don't have boundaries. There's that word again, boundaries.
Boundaries again, yeah.
And so I think the biggest thing is understanding what is the goal? What are you trying to seek? And maybe there's some boundaries that we can set around that to build a structure, but that doesn't mean that it has to be hardcore. We're doing this, 15 minutes, we're switching to this, we're switching to that. What I've noticed and what I see that works really well with kids, we see a lot of neurosensory kids.
Yep.
Or even adults, even business owners that just are kind of, pulled in all different ways. And instead of, I like my lists, but lists don't work for everyone.
They don't work for me.
So instead it's, okay, here's my long list, but what 2 things or what 3 things needs to get done today?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that can be a structure, but it's unstructured in the sense that it's then on your timetable.
Okay. So they have the ability to be creative inside that space.
Absolutely.
Because I think that it was a question that was raised that we pretty much been raised in a system for a lot of us that have advanced degrees, and even those that have went through high school. Since kindergarten, you have been taught a very structured way of living your life in education. You do this from till 7 to 8. You do 8 to 9, 9 to 10. You live by a very, very confined structure of time, and it becomes very systems oriented, but very, very structured. And we know that the most successful people and the most successful businesses and even families allow for a lot of creative play inside that structured space. We see it with children all the time that structure is there for, it sets boundaries, but that's it. We should be allowed to be able to create. We should be allowed to be able to use our love, the Holy Spirit that God's put into us, our souls, and love on people, yet still stay creative, yet still stay slightly structured. I think that's where we see the greatest growth out of most business professionals and families. Because a lot of families will, if you don't have any structure to your day, you kind of don't know what's going on, period, which is kind of understanding your calendar, right? But how can a family then build in so that really, really augmented, regimented business and family, and their systems driven, and 8 o'clock we eat breakfast, 10 o'clock we go outside and play, noon we eat lunch. My grandma was a lot like that because she was a farmer. And she made the one thing comment to you that one day, I remember when you were breastfeeding Peyton, and it was either either that kid gets on a schedule or they don't get fed, right? And I think that that is one of the, God bless my grandma, she rest in peace. Betty Weiss was an amazing woman. Um, Before I get all shook up about that, but she had to run on a structure or else things didn't get done on the farm. So where do moms find that fine line, especially our moms that are in business and they have a family and they have newborns and they are breastfeeding? Where did you find that fine line?
Still finding that fine line
Yeah,
sometimes.
you're an
But
amazing mom.
I think it comes back again to those boundaries. And when it, at the end of the day, what was your goal to accomplish?
Hmm.
And if you were able to get that one thing done of feeding your children, maybe bathing your children, keeping them alive for the day, then you succeeded,
Okay.
right? I think when as a mom, as a businesswoman, we put so many different things on our calendars and on our agendas, and we put everybody else's expectations on us
Mm,
of how we are supposed to live rather
mm.
than how we should be living.
Everybody else's expectations.
Yes. And so I think once you can get rid of that, if that's closed-minded thinking based on of what everybody else is expecting you to do, and you can now have an open mind to, all right, today I'm just going to play with my kids.
Hmm.
But maybe in that day, it's kind of like, okay, we should probably feed the kids 3 times today.
Or five,
We
or let them
haven't,
snack.
maybe we need to bathe. But then that just makes it all like maybe you have your 2 meals in the first part of the day, and then
That
it's early to
happens.
bedtime or,
That happens.
bath time. And so that same thing can be with your business. It doesn't need to fall within the constructs of what everybody else thinks of what a day should be split up in. And so if you're a night owl, then maybe you're playing all day with your kids or you're doing other social engagements, but then you like to stay up at night while the rest of the world is sleeping. And
Hmm.
then that's when you're raising the bar. You're doing all of your business stuff. That's when you're doing all those engagements. And then people look at you like, how are you able to do all those things? And the connotation from the outside of people looking in is,
Are you
well,
a good mom?
are you a good mom? How are you doing all that? You can't be a good mom because you're doing
Are
all
you
those things.
paying enough attention to your kids?
Yes.
That kind of stuff, right? And I think that's one of the most detrimental things as mothers out there that you can be told is, are you being a good parent? Are you paying enough attention to your kids? Are you doing the steps that need to be done to raise children? And I think that that is sincerely different for everyone. And I want you to understand that just because we do things one way, that's what works for us. That may not work for your family or it may not work for your business. Sean Dill and Lacey Book and David Meltzer and the people that we know, love, and have grown to trust, they say there's more than one way to do anything, but there is also one way to do everything. And that one way to do everything works in our family and it works for us in our business. And we've had children in our life, in our business, so Peyton was born. And 2.5 to 3 months later, we started Weiss Family Clinic of Chiropractic, which is now Prime Family Chiropractic Centers. And we had our kids with us nonstop. And with our postpartum moms and our moms that deal with postpartum depression and these moms that deal, and our dads too. See, that's one thing that's often missed is male psychology. Men don't talk about their feelings. Men don't get together and really talk to each other about how they feel, what people are telling them, or the self-doubt and shade that they throw at themselves all the time about being a good dad. And I think a lot of the times the focus gets put on mom, which is very, very important. Don't get me wrong, like that is vital. But dad gets left to the side as well, where dad's working nonstop if it's a single income household or a single income business. Mom's raising the kids at home, taking on a task that dad never thought he would have to do. But then a lot of shoulder burden gets put on his shoulders as well, and he's not allowed to share how he feels or how that day is really tough on him, or that maybe he feels really bad because he doesn't get to be home with the kids as much. And that's a tough thing to have. I dealt with that a lot. I dealt with a lot of, felt a lot of shame because I wasn't home a lot. And that was nothing, not because of you, but that was internally, personally, that really hurt me and affected me. And it, even to this day, I try to take time out to spend time with Brecken every day, spend time with Peyton every day. And I think David Meltzer talked about that too in the last podcast, is having certain time frames around how you get to spend time with your loved ones is key, but then allowing that, so when you have that time with them, that not being structured, but that just being an intent of being there and being present with them.
100% being present.
Being present. Because Peyton may not want us to do anything with her, but she just wants us to be by her. Right?
Absolutely. She could probably be sitting in the corner with us right now, and that would be okay with
her.
her.
But as long as we're there.
Yes.
Brecken, on the other hand, wants us doing something with him if he's with us. If he's by himself, he will do whatever he wants. He plays, he does Legos and games, and he's on electronics. Like, that happens. It's the age, but he's not on them a ton. But it's different. Peyton would just spend time just sitting with us. And I think as parents out there, we all have children like that. Or we have somebody in our life that is like that, where they just want to be by us. It's that quality time being spent. It doesn't have to be spent doing everything, or that it doesn't have to be a structure to it at all. Like, we don't have to go plan a trip. We don't have to go do this today. There can be that opening in there where we just do whatever we want as long as we're together. Where little man like Houndy, he wants to do stuff with us. So like when we're active, he's like, let's go golf, let's go throw footballs, let's go run on the zip line, swing on the zip line or zip on it, whatever they do. So from a mother's perspective then, and a business owner, because you provide a lot of amazing systems and you're really good at this, how have you found a way to structure your workday and still have time for your children? Because this is your sweet spot. This is your soul genius. How do you do that?
When I leave the clinic, I try to make sure that I have all of that workday complete.
At the clinic. There's still more to your work.
There's more, but it's different. And so I may leave work thinking, okay, I need to do all of these things, and then I pull in the driveway and maybe we're putting out fires right away. Maybe it's the crock pot didn't turn on, and now we need to like troubleshoot what we're gonna have for dinner. Like that is in the moment of, you know what, those other things, those are just things. That can wait. That can happen tomorrow.
I know what system you're in when I come home. Like what I
gotta get people fed.
No, but like, but I know what Julie's like when I come home based on how she's dressed, and she doesn't know this, and I'll tell her. If I come home and you're still in your clothes you were in at work that day, I know that you basically hit the ground running immediately when you got home. You haven't had any time to decompress, unload, spend time with the kids. You hit the ground running means that you just started working on stuff at the house right away. Versus if I come home and you're in the usual home Julie outfit. She's got 2 outfits, by the way. I know that you had 5 minutes to go and change, which tells me the mindset you're in when I come in the door. Are you in mom mode, or are you still in getting everything together and still in business mode? And because if you're dressed like this when I come home with this off, but your top is still, it's not like she's at home cooking topless, guys. Like, this doesn't work that way.
I don't cook bacon anyways.
But if you haven't changed yet, I know that you've been just punching it. And guys out there, gentlemen, when you come home and you see your spouse and they haven't changed, or you saw them earlier and they're still in the same clothes, more work clothes, that's a word of advice right away. They haven't had a chance to kick into mom mode yet. So what do you have to do to step in to allow them to give you 10 to 15 minutes to get away, to go decompress, to change quick?
Or maybe that mom is still dressed the same way when you left the house in the morning.
Yes.
Maybe that's instead of being handed the children right away, of, stepping in, how can I help? Or just, making dinner and having her go take a bath or a shower.
Yeah, and that's key. And I'm not a perfect husband. I know that for a fact. I know that for a fact. I'm not a perfect dad either. But I also know where I need to step in and where I can help out immediately when I come home. Like, that's a big thing. So when I leave the office, when I leave patient care for the day or our business for the day, I can decompress it pretty quick in my mind. But my mind's thinking patient care nonstop, 24 hours a day. You know that. Like, it's always like that. but that's what I've chosen to deal with, right? That's what
I
I've
mean, we
chosen to
get
have
we
in my head.
get phone calls on the weekend, we get text messages, we get messenger patients
Hmm.
all the time. But it's also understanding that boundary with the kids. If it's if we see that message, can it be, you know, quickly taken care of? If it's something that, okay, we need to go into the office, well, we were going to go there anyways. How can we weave that into our world so it's not an abrupt stop from the other things that we had planned?
So from adults' perspective, an adult thing now, how do
Mhm.
we play? Like how seriously? Like that's an honest question. How do we as adults allow our heads to go into very right brain way of thinking, which is creativity, um, play, unstructuredness versus the left hand side of our brain is very, very structured and very regimented. So how do we allow that right side of creativity to come out when we're home with our kids? What are a couple ways that you found to let yourself do that?
I would go back to like what brought you joy as a child.
Mm.
And I think if you're struggling with this, like now is like the perfect time. Like we're in Wisconsin, the weather is finally getting a little bit warmer.
Yes.
But I would challenge everybody to close your eyes, think back to a time when you were a child and what brought you joy. Was it simply going to the park or in your backyard and sitting on a swing and swinging? Was it playing in a sandbox? Was it going for a bike ride, going for a hike, fishing, picking worms? Whatever it was, go back and start to do those things.
Hmm. I agree.
Literally, like get out of the adultness, go back and what was fun as a child and start to do that. Do
Yeah,
that 15 minutes.
well, mine's playing Legos, Ninja Turtles, and GI Joe.
I know.
He-Man, all that kind of stuff that I had when I was a kid. But the outside time, the time that I got to spend with my brother and sister playing football with my dad, those types of things are what bring me a lot of joy. That's why I try to spend as much time as I can with our kids golfing and doing things more not sports related, but just play related, right? And to allow yourself the way to creative think. So a lot of people, when they're thinking in a structured environment, your creativity falls apart. This is why, like when you go on vacation, or like for us, for example, we go on a long car ride. Like and for most like long car ride, I'm talking like anything over an hour to an hour and a half. Julie usually brings a notepad because my mind starts going crazy.
Get the
Is
best work done.
get the best work done in the car. Like for a 3 hour car ride, we're getting some of the best work done because we allow our minds to kind of break away from the everyday systems that we're dealing with. And now all the creativity things come back. And it's the same thing on vacation and holiday. Like I don't really like using the word vacation either. We've heard that, and vacation means to separate from life. Holiday means to just go on a holiday and have fun. But when you're on holiday and you allow yourself to decompress and kind of allow business, the structured side of business to go away, you notice that your creativity comes back very quickly and your brain gets inundated with ideas. And then you kind of I get frustrated because I have all these ideas and then I'm like, I can't do anything with them right now because I am on holiday. Because I know that when I get back home and I get back into a very structured system of our office and chiropractic care and taking care of patients and running a very, very structured calendar, let's be honest, like my day is very, very structured when I'm with patients and clients. And even my analysis when I take care of my clients is very structured. It's very, I do this and I do this and I do this. And then I come back and I do these 3 steps. But I find when the real miracles happen with chiropractic is when I go off script completely and I don't follow my analysis and I just let my heart take over and I let my subconscious do the work. And that's when the true miracles happen. And it's the same thing when people break away from their, they call it the everyday 9 to 5 grind. Like it shouldn't be like that. It should be creativity in your whole day, which allows you to be better and better. So you have to find ways to break the structure, break the monotony, break the systems that you've brought yourself up in, and allow yourself to play.
I'll say it could be as easy as like reorganizing your desk,
Mm.
or if your computer
Changing that
monitor was always
neurology,
over
right?
here, move it over here.
Oh, that totally messed
It's
our clients up so much when we changed the tables around.
Yep. It's structure and repeating over and over and over, that is what allows our brain to just be put into neutral and we don't need to think.
In that robot mode.
And as soon as and it could be super simple, like you put a rug somewhere else, right? Like if you can close your eyes and you can walk in your house, that just means that, okay, now you don't need to think and you're still maybe in work mode. But if you're constantly like going through an obstacle course, right? You're constantly thinking, shifting. So if you can do those same things, if it's, once a month of, if you're in a cubicle, is there something else that a different picture you can hang up, or put your computer monitor
Changing
or your
the
chair
space.
someplace different, a different smell, a different sound, different vision. And that's where always, like, I don't know if anybody knows that, like, we touch on all 5 senses, even 7 senses within our clinic.
Yeah, absolutely.
And those are intentional. But we also change them because while we're talking structure, but it's also neurology. And so that's where we need to keep. And it's not always like tricking our body and our brain, but it is trying to elicit new neurology, which then changes our body.
Well, that's the whole point
function.
to chiropractic, right? Like break the learned neurological habits of interference that have went on in our bodies our entire life. And what do we have to do to change those neurological habits to allow the body to then get back to source, constantly talk to the brain so the brain can come back in and restructure and reprogram and get the body back to healing like it's supposed to. It's the same thing in life. It's the same thing in business. It's the same thing in our family structure.
So if we're constantly walking a road that is stressful, we need to do something to change that.
Couldn't agree with you more. This is what makes you an amazing coach. And see, people laugh at that, but hey, Julie's been in my life coaching me now for 18 years. We met and we had our first date on May 5th, 2004. Yep. I was golfing that day.
Cinco de Mayo.
And you were at a Cinco de Mayo party. And guess who called up me? This lady right here. Thanks for the phone call. With that, bid you guys farewell. I hope that you can get a little bit more out of this podcast and this YouTube. Get on over. There's been a ton of people jumping on, listening, and watching our stuff, watching us on YouTube, jumping in, subscribing, listening to what we have to do. Click that subscribe button, hit that bell, share this episode to as many people as you possibly can. We've had tons and tons of comments now coming in over the last 4 months since we've been really bringing ourselves back into this fold together. And it's been an absolute phenomenal journey so far. It's been so much fun. So get over to YouTube, subscribe, watch us, check us out on the podcast stations. We love having you here. Go out there, get it done. Take care, everybody. Bye.